Hello, and thank you so much for joining this episode of the Enneagram and Marriage Pod. Today is just a mini episode just for you this midweek or whenever you're listening. And it's all about helping you to attune with your own heart this season. I know that so many of us have had busy summers. Many of you have told me about your special vacations or having kids at camp, getting extra work done yourself. And now you're in this new space and you are looking to delve in deeper with your marriage or your family, but you're pressed for time. And we all know that when we're pressed for time and we're looking for ways to spend time with our family, sometimes we can be very short with them. Instead of having discussions and getting regulated in healthy, more margin ways, we can get very irritable or just feel exhausted, tired, burnout. So today's episode is a reminder for you, even if you're listening a different season than fall, just to really allow yourself some healthy rhythms for finding and attuning with your own heart space, because we're always talking about attuning with each other, right? But something we're doing on our Deeper Dive Wednesday series, you might notice if you're tuning into that, you can subscribe to that if you're not and you want to, but we're talking about how sometimes we bypass our own work in order to attune with our partner. We're like, oh my gosh, they have to make sure they cover me. I need this, I need that. And instead of slowing down to figure out what we need, we often just, of course, out of a loving desire, want to make sure that we can attune with each other. And you know, I'm all about that. But if you know the ways that I've really worked with couples over the past 20 years plus and individuals, it's through really connecting with our own values and connecting with our own ways of refreshing so that, and that includes spiritually refreshing, so that we can approach our spouses with something to give versus just seeking, seeking, seeking. And also, of course, sharing needs. There's nothing wrong with that. We need to do that too. I'm all about that. But really allowing ourselves to not bypass our own work, our own heart work. So I'm just giving you a few tools and tips for that today. And also in other ways, just that reminder. So before we get to that, I hope you had fun at the Ennea Summit. Also, we had an episode on writing a book this Monday. I hope you got a chance to check it out. Some of you really encouraged me because you said you do know you have a book inside of you. And I am so happy to hear that. I love that. I'm cheering you on. I love that you are slowing down to even process that, even to just say that versus I'm not expecting you to build Rome in a day, but just to know that if you do feel that as a call on your heart, as one of your life's dreams, and callings, that you would know we have all the tools for you in that Monday episode. And again, in the Ennea Summit on mental health, there were some great reminders. I hope you're holding on to some nuggets, even if it was just attending some of the seminars on each type so that you could learn about all of them. And just quickly before we get started, I don't know about you, but our updates are everybody is back in the swing of it with school. And I'm really excited for my kids. I'm excited for the hours we have together learning. It's not that many, but about 3.5 a day. And I love that time to just be with my younger two, especially Jack, who is in 7th grade this year. And he's off at a props and theater sort of class right now and has soccer and has a few other classes. And today I heard him on the piano and I did ask him to connect with his heart space because I heard him getting very methodical. And I was like, I love that. If you don't mind, could you play it with some heart? And it was so cute. And then I also love that Hannah's now like a junior in college, even though it's kind of going fast. So she's trying to slow it down a bit as a 4, and she's trying to pace a little bit. So she met with her advisor for her honors college today, and they were talking about pacing. And she's been invited to a dance company, Sarasota dance company down here in Florida. And she's learning as a 4 to bide her time. She's learning that she can dance one night a week, maybe go to Pure Barre with me a couple times a week, but she really has to find her footing in her honors college, and she's teaching a dance class. And then Melody Jane is our senior this year. And so something that we really processed on her heart work today was that she is in a space where she's still as such a harmonizer. She's trying to like help her siblings and, make sure she's aligning and attuning with all the girls in her dance. And she's in a leadership position this year, and she's doing a senior piece that she choreographed herself and is in process with. And there's just a lot going on between applying for colleges and all of these dual enrollment courses she has, theater classes, dance class, piano, voice, all of it that she wanted to do. And I had this reminder with her today as she was feeling like I have to just do for others. And I said, Melody, I didn't plan your name. Your dad didn't plan your name. It was given to us. I really felt that way with her name. We could go into the whole thing about it, but wasn't on the list. Let me put it that way. And it was a beautiful reminder. I said, you are a great harmonizer, but your name isn't Harmony. It's Melody. You're the main character, girl. And I was like, at some point, we're going to get there by probably process of elimination, but you're going to help to figure out what you want to do for your life story, not what Hannah's doing, not what anyone else is doing, but you. And I'm just loving that Enneagram has helped us to get there. So just food for thought if you're out there parenting, trying to figure it all out. Just know that I'm doing the work with you, trying to help my kids into their heart space. We have those bursts of tears moments sometimes in our family too, and I welcome that with you guys. But we also need to regulate when we have those moments so that we can make it. So back to our topic, and Wes is doing really well. I'll just say that really quick. He did his sleep nasal sort of almost like a surgery, and it was very successful. He's been sleeping so well. He's been showing me his app, and it's so much better. So if anyone's having sleep trouble out there, yes, I have recommendations now officially because that was a long time coming. We'll see how it goes. But all that said and done, these are the workings of my family. These are the things going on under the surface that we've been working on because we have to adjust and reestablish ourselves each semester, if you will. And so do you. So take a deep breath with me as we step into your emotional space now, just briefly to touch on what you could be doing to attune with yourself, even as, like me, you might be attuning with your family. And one thing I often say is that you might want to do something with the refresh prayer cycle that I've offered many times here on this podcast. And as a quick reminder, because some of my clients even say, remind me of that again, is that you want to allow yourself the space to grieve if you have something going on that's kind of just there, but it's a blah, and you know it's there, but you're busy. And so allowing yourself a little time and space to process that. Yesterday, a client though said, okay, if I do that, if I allow myself to hit those tears or hit that sadness, I'm so afraid I won't be able to come out. And I know myself, and it's hard for me to come out once I go back in. So I don't allow myself to go back in or in at all. And the problem with doing that bypass, of course, is that it does come out sideways anyway. And sometimes that's through unhealthy self soothing, or as I said, lashing out at your spouse, or not being able to be healthily present, being too busy, no margin, whatever it is. I want to welcome you to knowing that you can say, here's the time frame I'm going to give myself. You can even set a timer for it where you say, okay, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15, whatever it is, to give yourself a little emotional space to just check in with yourself, to say, okay, I'm checking in via journaling. And what am I sad about? What am I grieving? Take it to God if you're a person of faith, but also just allow yourself to say, what can I do? To what do I need in order to bring this part of me comfort? And that's so helpful, so healthy. I just welcome you to it. Know that I do that too. And the next part of that is gratitude so that you don't have to stay there all the time. Now, if you never could get there in the first place and you're still going, Krista, that's just hard for me. I've tried it. I can't do it. This is where, like I said, that extra podcast episode can come in such handy because it's really helpful to delving into internal family systems, as we talked about a couple weeks ago on the pod right here. So just know that we can delve deeper with you if you're like, my protector parts of me are too strong. I cannot get to that emotional part. But otherwise, after you've allowed a few minutes to wrestle and to ask yourself what you need, and hopefully to also give that healthy ways of coping, even if it's a butterfly hug, or I need a little tears, or I need to find my nurturing friends, then I think it's important that you allow yourself some healthy gratitude. And that is where you allow yourself to remember, and paragraph form works great here, writing down 8 or 9 things that you love about your life, your spouse, your family, just to remind yourself of the good that is going on, because simultaneously there's always going to be grief too. Especially as we hit a certain age, there's just things that are going to be there to grieve. So you've got to also remind yourself of that. It's so healthy for your brain neurogenesis too. And then of course, after that, we go into some healthy planning. planning. Not the planning fixation of the type 7 on the Enneagram, but the planning that holds open hands to God and says, okay, here's my day. Here's what I'm hoping for. Here's what I'd like to get done. Is this realistic? And if it's not, how can I mitigate expectations? How can I make sure it's healthy so I'm not doing too much or doing too little, but doing just right for me? And it'll obviously be a rhythm and a harmony versus this perfect percentile. And then lastly, getting into the doing. So you've planned after you've lamented, refreshed yourself, gratitude, and had some planning. Now you do. Now you get into doing, and this will help you. But a couple more tips for the journey that you should really know, especially one of them is it's really hard to offer this time to yourself if you haven't put margin in your day. So make sure you allow yourself some space and time for that, even if you have to mitigate expectations around other things. And I also want to add that, part of our emotional work as a person is honestly to do our fitness. And it might be for you that you're like, oh, just a nice walk at the end of my workday is my fitness, or allowing myself in this season to heal, that's my fitness, or working on my food intake, that's my way of just having healthier body and hormones. So when I say fitness, I mean your body being fit. I don't mean having to work out, although I love it if you're in a season to muscle build. I think that's absolutely wonderful and it's a great pick, but I don't want you to ever feel like it's the only pick for you. So make sure you're taking care of that. Make sure that you are allowing yourself to spend time with your spouse. This is the Enneagram and Marriage podcast, and I haven't forgotten that today. And inviting them into your parts that need attention. I do think it's wise to say to each other what our needs are, but I also want you to remember that they can't carry it all for you. So they may be really good at the fun part where you're like, Wes is, for instance, really good at the fun part, like the 7, like I can go out to eat with him and talk about a plan we have for Melody's graduation trip next year and be like, let's plan this out. And he can be the best of friends for that. But maybe I Voxer my friend Stacy for something else that I need. So remembering what they're good at and what is a blind spot for them versus pushing into their blind spot and asking for it all the time. Now, if they really have a big blind spot and it's hurting you, I definitely want you to get support. We are here for coaching. You can contact us at any time. But between this emotional regulation for yourself, setting some margin, setting some ways for you to have that healthy self care and restful rhythms, as well as fit rhythms, as well as these, one-to-one rhythms with your spouse and maybe even your kids if you're like me and they need that one-to-one too. Of course, we all do sometimes. Then make sure you include that too. But just get your sleep otherwise and make sure that you don't forget your social time too, because sometimes we feel like, oh no, in order to attune with myself, it has to be just me. But honestly, we're social creatures. So sometimes just finding who you are in a group setting is so healthy and helpful. And I know that that's been helpful for me lately as we've been leading a group at church. And it's just been fun to see how do we engage in a group. And of course, I'm not going to be the one rolling all day long through groups. Wes might be all day long, like, hey, I want to go to this group and then this group and then this group. But I'm more likely to do the one group a week or a couple groups a week, and to rest most of the other parts of the week in terms of like, okay, it's not going to be all groups all week. So allow yourself to be authentic to who you are, and that will help you to attune with all these areas I mentioned. As you could hear as we end today, I wasn't trying to get too particular on exactly what that would look like because you are unique and I love that about you. You have your own gifts. So take some time to write this down or to really process now what's a way you're going to emotionally attune with yourself this week. And I welcome you to that. And I thank you so much for spending time with me on this podcast. And everything's in the show notes for you too. So excited about all the books holding Enneagram and Marriage. We had one on Hollywood Boulevard today that Melody Jane scored, and I was so happy. Book Soup, if you're out there in LA, the book is there. Make sure you get it. Also, if you're looking for more Ennea help, we have you covered for your marriage. And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.